most of the discussion we would expect everybody to highlight is that what Atsuko actually pointed out is that 2.6 billion people are not connected. And those who are connected are also not meaningfully connected. And all our lives are now dependent on digital, either regulation-wise or culturally or even practitionally. There are a lot of people who are suffering not being connected. And those who are connected, of course, as we said, not meaningfully connected. So highlight and those kind of aspects in whatever pocket that you all come from. Sylvia, of course, sits in a situation where she has a bird's eye view on a lot of organizations that she funds in Asia Pacific and in Asian region, and she has also contributed in this CNX for a long time to bring those kind of practitioners who are usually left out. So Sylvia, over to you to your first 3 minutes to share sitting in Australia and giving us a nice wallpaper behind you. Thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Osama. Nice to see you. Very sorry that I am not able to join you in person, but thank you very much for the invitation. I had the privilege to visit Assam back in 2014 and cross the Brahmaputra and drink your beautiful tea, and I still have the gift that was given me during my felicitation. I should have kept it ready to wear it today, but believe me that my spirit is with you today, and I'm really glad that this event is taking place in such a remote part of India. Many of you may know about the APNIC Foundation, so I would encourage you, for those of you that are not aware, I would encourage you to visit our website, apnic.foundation, and explore the section about our projects so that you have a better view of the breadth and the depth of projects that the foundation is supporting. APNIC Foundation is the fundraising arm of APNIC, which is the Asia Pacific Network Information Center, and we are a technical organization that allocates IP addresses for internet development, but we have a very strong heart focused on internet development, and we understand that even though the technology is very important, in the end what we are investing in is in people, and that the internet is as secure, as reliable, as provides that level of outreach, addresses people's needs, etc., as the engineers that build it and maintain it. So it doesn't happen by magic, even if we think it does. So the role of the foundation is to try to highlight not only the needs of communities that require access to the internet, but the needs of those that are actually building and maintaining such infrastructure and being supporting development in that way. And on that note, and without extending too much on what the foundation does, I would like just to say that I was asked to put out there what are the main challenges that we see across a variety of projects that we support that are not necessarily only working on connecting for communities. And I think that there are a number of barriers there to consider that are very important in relation to really being able to outline what are the costs associated with deployment and maintenance of networks in remote locations. And that part of maintenance, for example, refers to things like if there is a tower, a connection that goes out in the middle of the Himalayas, and it takes you 8 hours to get to that place to fix it, it means that that community will be disconnected, or that city will be disconnected for that time. So what are the costs for maintenance is not only the fuel to get there and climb the thing and fix whatever was broken, is the costs that are associated with the benefits that people are losing because that connectivity was interrupted. And I am seeing my face humongous in the background, so I'm sorry if it is this is scary for the people in the room. thing that I would like to highlight besides the cost for deployment and maintenance is taxation. For network operators, either if they are ISPs or community organizations or university campuses that are deploying networks that are at the service of communities, the cost of upgrading a network and deploying new networks that connect and are interoperable with the previous infrastructure are very much hindered by taxation on the devices that they need to be able to access that. And in many cases, to be able to increase the coverage of those services, taxation for new devices is higher, and it means that people stay with old devices instead of that will allow them to have more meaningful connectivity, as Osama was mentioning. But they stay with these old devices instead of accessing the new ones, and it's because of taxation issues and price. There are market barriers for people to access the internet bandwidth that they will be distributing, because even if it is owned and operated by the community, they still need the internet to come from somewhere. So that means that they need to establish links with industry and representation with operators, and sometimes they don't have the capacity to do that, either because of the remoteness of where they are working, or because it's just kind of like different worlds in which that is not happening. And the last barrier that I am going to put out there is Starlink. And it's the fact that there is this reliance on that someone is going to come and save us. And it is this thing is going to come from the sky, and the definition of a top-down decision. And is how are we, again, going to think that there is someone or some technology that is going to come in and fix all the problems? I don't think that's the case. I think that is a hybrid ecosystem that requires participation and ownership from every single actor and player in society. So I believe that putting all our hopes and dreams in companies like Starlink that are not necessarily building markets and capacity locally and are not supporting the local economy are not necessarily the best way to go. So I hope I did stir a little bit of ideas for an interesting discussion, and I look forward to your comments and continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Sylvia. Be with us, and I'll come back again to you. So, from the screen to the land, we will now have someone from this room to speak. And can I go to Bikram Shrestha to Nepal? In 3 minutes, can you highlight 2 questions answer? One is that Nepal is naturally a hilly country. You know, the whole country is like that. And I remember Mahabir Pun was the first one who did the Himalayan connectivity, and he got Magsaysay Award for that. And he also helped many of the community networks to be established in India. And then after that, I have been seeing that a lot of people do last mile connectivity in Nepal, but it is still not a policy. It is still not a part of the regulation or the business policy or the government policy. What do we need to learn from Nepal, and what Nepal need to learn, that why the difficult areas is so difficult to connect? If you can highlight in just quickly in 2 minutes, yeah.
Thank you, Osama. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much and it's my honor and my pleasure to be here in part of CNX. I have been working in this internet world. It's almost 2 decades. When I was just 19 years old, I started my first career from startup ISP in my native place. It's far away from Kathmandu. It's in what you say, landlord site is 92 kilometers, but because of terrain, it's very difficult to reach. And as Osama said, that I'm also the part of Mahabir Dai. Mahabir is now looking after the this innovation Nepal separately, but still I'm working in the last mile connectivity and in internet world. I'm the founder, Internet Society Nepal chapter as a treasurer, and then I started after the past president, and we start this Nepal Internet Foundation. And in Nepal, still, I used to say wherever I go abroad, and I'm also the first fellow from Nepal to the ICANN, Internet Corporation for Nepal, Internet Corporation for Name and Numbers. And still, the political stability is not, as we said, that Nepal is still, the political stability is not there. So that's how the government is only focusing on their own business. But the civil society like us, we are working for the last mile connectivity for the mountains. I used to say in Nepali, जहाँ पुग्दैन रवि त्यहाँ पुग्छ कवि भने जस्तै जहाँ we use, I mean, wherever this poetry kavi will be not reached, we will be the last mile connectivity we provide in Nepal. So last year we had back-to-back community network we established. One is in Everest region, in Khunde and Khumjung itself. It's almost, 4,000 meter height. It's very near to Everest base camp. It's only 32 kilometers far away from the Everest base camp. So as we don't have that kind of support from the government, but the private sectors and civil society are more active, and still there is no policy in community network or civil society initiatives in Nepal. So that's how Internet Society had been supporting in Nepal from 2007 itself, because I was the founder treasurer. So that's onwards we have established multiple community network in Nepal and last mile connectivity, but it's still going on. There is lots of still. I have been working in other two villages. It's very remote village where the telecom provider also they don't have a infrastructure there, but we have been there, and last mile connectivity we have been doing. So still there is no such kind of policy in Nepal.
I know, there is only announcements. That is what I have seen, that there are a lot of announcements by the governments and by USO funds and so on and so forth in many areas. But one thing that I want to ask to Hasina, she works in remote areas, you work with social issues and things like that. The statistics clearly says is that only 48% of the country uses internet, right? And I'm sure those 48%, huge percentage is those who use once in a month or once in 2 months or 6 months. They are part of the statistics. That means not more than 25 to 30% people use internet to be dependent on it. Rest of the people are suffering because of its being buffering, or it's not working, and so on and so forth. The landscape has changed. In the last 20 years, before earlier internet was aspirational. Now internet looks like that it is a necessity, right? Even the government says that you can only do DBT, you can only withdraw this way, you can only pay online, you can put all the certificate online, and so on and so forth. So, isn't it not only a pain, it is actually a huge drain on your pocket for the poor people who are unconnected?
Thank you for that question, Osama. So I would just say, like, 35 years of my journey from a non-internet to an internet base, starting off from Shillong and now working in 5 countries of Southeast Asia. I think the ground learning lesson is completely very different than what is being announced constantly in many biggest forums about different policies that is actually connecting Northeast, in the Act East policy. We really need to solve connectivity from the ground. when I use the word solving connectivity from the ground, I'll just give you a right example. Like, we work with 30,000 artisans in the 8 states of the northeast of India.
30,000.
Yes. And they are all basically in different pockets of the Eastern Himalayan belt, and we also work in Nepal and Myanmar and also in Bangladesh, and now our regional offices in Thailand. The question that I have is that when we were trying to solve a social issue, we introduced Impulse Case Management Center, where the law enforcement will be able to actually solve cases of human trafficking by being able to connect immediately and quickly. But then in the course of our action of the work, the online version is never a possibility all the time. That we had to go backward and create an offline version of the same technology platform so that they could put all the cases that is being registered, and the moment the connecting point come like a dot, they would be able to click. We would be using the telephone half the time when we have already introduced the Impulse Case Management Center for enforcement to be able to work across borders on cases on human trafficking. So my deepest question is that when we have to solve social issue or a crime issue through the need of the hour, which is actually digitally, then I think the government needs to first strengthen the last mile of all the police stations in the region across the Eastern Himalayan belt to have better connectivity. Unless we won't be able to do a cross-border, although we succeeded with more than 74,000 cases, but that is a pain and a huge amount of resources we had to bring on board, because it's working on telephone, it's creating, the headquarter is taking the data, refeeding the data, but that is not what digital process of connectivity is all about. It means that the last mile of a police station in the remotest part of the Northeast should be able to feed that case that is required. So that is a challenge and continue to be a challenge. After we won the World Global Prize from the World Bank in 2012, we reached to 4 countries. Yes, even at the headquarters, we still have we have to wait for minutes and minutes to be connected. The last mile is completely untouched. So that is one challenge that we need to see. The second part is, as we were trying to look at people on the move, especially because we are working with agroforestry, looking at people on the move and migration, we are trying to increase economic upliftment. And we always take things as a challenge. For me, every impossible has to be possible. So in the journey of making that possible, we started the partnership with Meta to actually get connectivity of every small businesses in the Northeast to be able to market the product on Instagram, Facebook, which is the main platform, so that they don't have to depend on the middlemen. When I use the word middlemen, who is making lots of money now? People who have agencies sitting in Delhi and Mumbai and maybe Guwahati and all of that are actually taking control of the small businesses who cannot sell things online because they cannot load it from the village. So you are paying lots of money because you want to do business, you have to sell online. You cannot be online so frequently and in the speed that is required of the hour at the moment. So you're paying an extra money to the middle person who's sitting at the state capital to get things done for you. In that, we try to walk away from it, and through Meta Business Academy are reaching the nook and corners of the Northeast at the moment. The interesting part, every woman who's running a small businesses want to be connected. But we are still not able to get that speed what somebody is doing in Delhi, in Rajasthan, in Mumbai, than us, because we are not able to get the certification loaded at the right time. We have to gather all the certificate into a pool, and then we have to bring it back to the headquarters. Then again, we have to load, because for Meta, it's necessary that every certification comes alive. That's only how the system is going to work. So my honest question is that, as every policymaker, we have the Northeastern Council, the donor, we have the IT department, don't you think we need to look at that connectivity first if we have to talk digitally, connectivity for everybody? If we don't do that, we will be at a crossroad in the Eastern Himalayan belt. While we'll have some people making lots of money trying to give that access to the most smallest business who don't have that access, when actually what we are trying to do is breaking that. But while we're trying to break, our target now is 5,000. We complete 2,500 in 2 months. But certificate is not uploaded yet because we have to bring back to Shillong. Of course, the cost of going to every nook and corner is a high cost. Who is going to bear that in the longer run for sustainability?
Thank you, Sina, for highlighting that. And this is the ground reality. And I remember when I was writing one column in my regular column, I did a little bit of research in Rajasthan that a poor person pays 250 rupees for a printout. If you really convert the loss of wage of the day, the number of times the person has to go to the town or a nearest district or a tehsil or taluk to get photoestat done, which is necessary to upload or whatever for something digital thing. So it is extremely painful for them. It's something like how a villager pays a huge amount for drinking water, right, which is not reaching to the home. Same with this one. So coming to actually, the new word has been coined after G20 is that digital public infrastructure, right? It's I'm saying word is because we have to translate into action. And digital public infrastructure is necessary in a populous country because individual affordability of digital access as a basic human right infrastructure may be very unaffordable and also may be extremely difficult to deploy because you will keep on calculating ARPU and therefore ARPU doesn't allow you to go to the villages, or the mountain areas or the remote areas. And there I come to Dharmendra to find out that your actually a specialization of your company being, I would say, if not, I don't know, should we say telecom service provider, but certainly connectivity service provider, is that you usually reach to the place where nobody else reaching, through satellite services and things like that. Can you highlight the problem available, because for you the problem is also an opportunity, business opportunity, but why are we not doing it?
Thank you, Osama. Good morning, everybody. I think, Osama, you rightly said, connectivity is no more aspirational. Actually, it is essential. And it is needed now, today. There are efforts which are being done, both from the private sector as well as government side. But whether they are enough, surely not. That's the reason we are sitting here and discussing this very important topic. And now, both challenges are there, and I think more than me, people here in the audience know the challenges, the real challenges. And the reason I'm here is also to discuss and socialize that. But both government as well as private sector, both needs to play their role, and for sure with the help of community. We have seen, many programs done by government, BharatNet 1, now very recently we are talking about BharatNet 2, and I remember on 15th of August, Prime Minister announcing $16 billion for connecting the unconnected, right? And primarily, most of the fund goes to the terrestrial technologies, but there is a provision about 10% for alternate technologies, which also includes satellite and many innovative initiatives which are being done in Northeast. I know there are people tomorrow on the panel talking about what they are doing in the communities. Now, is that fund enough? Probably not. But what is the private sector doing, the big three, I consider BSNL as part of the government, and whether it is BharatNet 1, 2, 3, they're playing some role. But challenges, big three are interested only where enough number of users are there, where it closes the business case. And I think that's the most important part. They do not want to lay down fiber to a community where 10 people are living or 25 people are living. You know, as they would love to do that, but it doesn't make commercial sense for them, and that's where government is playing role. Second challenge is, of course, we'll come to that, what technologies are available. Once it is rolled out, we have been doing some reviews of the BharatNet 1. Probably 50% of sites are not operational because somebody funded them, somebody got paid, somebody installed it, and there was nobody to manage them. And why? Because, as Hasina said, you know, these areas are very difficult to reach. And, you know, you cannot deploy an engineer and an operator to each site. That's where the role of community is important. You know, the funding has to be in a way that it is not provisioned only for the technology, it is also provisioned for the upkeep of it. And maybe create entrepreneurship out of that. You know, remember the first National E-Governance Plan, the CSC centers were envisioned that government do the entire funding and they will create entrepreneurship. And we don't want to go back there, that why that didn't work or why it got delayed. So major challenge is that technology is there. Maybe I'll talk a little more about that later. Technology is available, and if we can over next 2 days discuss and see that what help we can provide and work not just with the government but with the top 3 guys in the communities to come up with some innovative ways and garner government funding and try and roll out these centers. That's my view on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Dharmendra, for highlighting that connecting is just not important, because connectivity is like creating a school is just not important. You need a teacher, you need an entire paraphernalia to run it, and that's a human intervention that we need. You just cannot erect a tower and provide connectivity. It has to be maintained from for its efficiency. Can I go to online and find out if Carlos is there? Carlos works with APC, and Carlos is very instrumental in popularizing or highlighting community networks or alternative networks as a means of connectivity. Perhaps Carlos got tired that telcos are not listening, governments are not listening. That means we have to take connectivity in our hands, and the community has to take the connectivity in our hands. But Carlos, can you highlight what APC has been able to create a momentum in creating an understanding of alternative technology as a necessity to do last mile connectivity where the normal guys are not reaching?
Thanks Osama, thanks everyone, thank you for the invitation to DF and to everyone in the room for listening. I don't know if there is also other people online listening in, but yeah, thank you very much. And it would be unfair to say that APC is the only one behind this. I think we have heard from the APN Foundation, we know ISOC, we know other of the partners of this event have been there also supporting this movement and supporting this idea, right? That the program that I coordinate on community networks for the Association for Progressive Communications, which is a network organization for which DEF is one of our members, and have been doing this for the last 30 years. The program that I coordinate on trying to see this type of alternative solutions to bridge the digital divide have been there since we started in 2017. Actually, we started in 2017 with the first CNX, right? And it was one of the first conferences that I attended. And if you look at the statistics of how many people have been connected since 2017 to now, the problem remains. I think the big telcos and the main operators do, and I think it's been discussed and mentioned before, do create solutions for places where their business models work, right? If the people that they have to connect do not have the necessary economic means to be connected, then they don't go there, they don't get connected. And the speaker before me was saying, well, the government is incentivizing that they go there. There are tens, hundreds of cases where the private sector has been incentivized to do so, have received millions of dollars everywhere around the global south. And those base stations, those fiber optics, those other projects just got discontinued, or the companies went into liquidation because the revenue that they were getting was simply not enough. So if we heard Atsuko at the beginning talking, and the ITU has been actually recognizing this and recognizing that business as usual is not going to close the digital divide, that we need alternative models, and that has been not only said by them in different, by the International Telecommunications Union in different spaces, but that has been incorporated in resolutions from their major conferences, right? Also here in the region, the ASEAN Digital Master Plan 2025 also includes that communities, are a valuable actor, and community networks are a valuable vehicle for closing the digital divide, right? So I think when you were talking, Osama, before, and others around the recognition by governments, I think it takes time. I think there has been 30 years of internet by traditional operators alone. The telecom sector, a sector where it was invested by private companies that were going to get a big share and a lot of revenue back on that, a lot of return on investment on that money that they put into building the telecommunications sector in many countries. But that got to a certain extent, that got to a certain percentage of the population. And now we need other models, and we need other ways of doing and thinking for connecting the other half, or not only connecting, as you were rightly saying, by providing meaningful connectivity and by providing local value services and added value services on top of the connectivity that is being provided. And who is better positioned than the communities to do so? Who knows better what are the communication needs of the communities than the communities themselves, right? And that's being proven all across the continent. And I think you're going to have speakers later today, tomorrow, that are going to be showing examples where that's the case, right? As I was saying, and I finish with this, it takes time. It takes time for that transformation to take place. I think those pioneering resolutions from the ITU last year, from their two major conferences last year, are already changing the potential for countries to engage on the recognition of these actors, on the recognition that other actors, that commercially invested companies are the ones to close the digital divide. And we see that last week, right? On Friday, it was the closing date for a public consultation for the national broadband policy in Bangladesh that included community networks, right? The Bangladesh government is looking at including international broadband policy, community networks as a vehicle to close the digital divide. It's already happening. Next week, we have a training with the ITU, with the regulator in Indonesia, where they are going to start looking at this. Whether that's become policy or not, we'll see. But there is a trend of reverting that other trend that only, commercially invested companies were the ones to do this. And yeah, thank you for the conference. I'm really looking forward to hearing from the experiences that are going to be shared. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos, for highlighting that. Actually, India has done this so many times. We created SHG phenomena. We created this frontline health workers phenomena, which is all community-oriented and business-oriented, but community-oriented. And I know, Susmita, you have a bad throat and you still had a courage to come on here. But what's your 2 bits of suggestion or ideas that can help us to make internet reach faster to the communities?
Thank you, and first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Kaji for inviting me, and also Community Network Exchange organizers. Yeah, we are discussing on 2 topics here. that how internet can reach the people, how we can increase the accessibility. And second one, we are discussing that how that accessibility can be effective. Coming to my background, I worked in academics for 27 years. Just before 1 month, I have changed my line of action, thought that I have done a lot in academics. And let's see that how this country, the technology can be developed. Why I thought about this, that working in academics, working very closely with the youngsters, very closely with the community, very closely with the people, what I realized that yes, lots of efforts are being taken at the governance level, at the national and state level leadership, that how the development can come to the people. And while lots of planning is being done very meticulously to reach the people, one thing is missing there, what I realized, that access, that reach only can be fruitful if we can bring effectiveness into the system. And to bring the effectiveness into the system, the community learning, the community education, I think it will play a very key role. Coming to my company, I can say that mostly we are focusing on education, healthcare, and livelihood. And we are developing the products that how the education, healthcare, and livelihood can come to the people, and it can be accessible, and it can, I can say that, contribute effectively to the people. Coming to the healthcare, just recently we have developed a product by taking into account all the CSE, PSs, the district hospitals, and also the, I can say that, the medical college and hospitals, all the healthcare systems of the country together, which is a product for the state itself. Any state can go for this product. And where we are coming with different solutions like virtual ICUs, the virtual medical centers to cater to the need of the people, those who are meeting the accident in a very remote place and they are not accessible to the hospital. So creating such facilities at a place, I think we can educate the community, those who can contribute, those who can facilitate those systems. I can give an example of state of Odisha. What they have done, they have taken the help of Red Cross. Red Cross is very effective, I can say, in the state of Odisha. And there are thousands of volunteers in the schools and colleges. And they have trained all the volunteers of schools and colleges in how to solve to the accident-prone people. Anyone is meeting with the accident, that there is a chart, in the, I can say that is coming in the mobile, that those are the volunteers in this area. Automatically it's coming, they have developed an app. Anyone is meeting with accident, logging in that app, they can get the numbers, they are calling them, and those people are trained that how to treat the accident-prone people, those who have made the accident in a particular place. So in that way, the community education, I think, is very much required to bring the technology to the people. Yes, accessibility problem is there, resource issues are there, but as I can say that as we are trying to reach, to make that reach effective, the community learning is very much required. And I hope that the people like ma'am will be playing a very key role in that how the community can be trained as such, the different technology developed at different places, can be private, can be government, can be anywhere else, that can benefit the people a lot. Thank you.
I will start with Akanksha. Let's say CNX and DEF and people like ours has a responsibility to bring most of the matter to the fore, to the government, to the industry, to the community. What do you suggest we need to do this? Because, not being connected is hurting. And being not meaningfully connected is also hurting. And unfortunately, those who are connected is also hurting because they are having misinformation, fake news, online hate speech, and so on and so forth. But all those are hurting even those who are not connected, because it's a part of the society now, because at least one person in all families or areas are mostly connected to get those information. So I'll start from there, because ITU being a larger thing, that what do you see as the kind of things that we need to do to fast forward being meaningfully connected and having a capacity to use access properly?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to address, but I'll try my best, to throw some light. I would start with saying that, what doesn't get measured doesn't get addressed. So I believe, putting the information together for the stakeholders, be it the government, be it the UN agency, ITU, to take action upon them is also very critical. So we undertake a lot of these activities across the Asia Pacific, in fact, across the globe. One of the things is mapping, and mapping where the pain points are and what actually the issues on the ground are. And once we have this information, then we map those with the kind of programs that ITU has to offer, which could possibly provide solutions to those problems. And I think this was also something that Atsuko-san had mentioned in her address, that smart villages, smart islands, this is one of the initiatives of the ITU through which we are trying to provide access to the remotest of the areas. And of course, each country where we work presents with its own challenges. The program has already been rolled out across 15 countries, and now we are currently working in Mongolia, where we've received the same request to provide access. But the country provides its own challenges because the population is migratory, people move from one area of the country to the another, depending upon the seasons, depending upon the time of the year. And all of those things provides with its own challenges. And then depending upon the challenges, then we bring in companies, the industry, stakeholders who could have relevant solutions to solve some of these challenges. So we are working with Cisco, we are working with a lot of these technology providers to see how, and connectivity is just, I feel, one part of the solution. In order to provide an inclusive and a safe connectivity, it's also important that people have the required skills, people have affordable access, which also means affordable devices. So then it's a journey which starts with connectivity but doesn't necessarily end with just having a connection. It has to move on with the, it has to be backed with skills, it has to be backed with devices, it has to be backed with security. Cyber security is such an important aspect where again ITU is working a lot. So yeah, I think we all on this platform are trying to work together to make sure that we can fast track some of these solutions that we can offer to the community. And I think no one has the solution to just address this problem on its own. And what will really help is coming together and working together through partnerships to address some of these problems. And we are glad that we now have presence in New Delhi, in India, through which we can work on projects, work on solving some of these challenges together with the community, together with the stakeholders who are in this room here on this platform. And we would be happy to take on what we could do in our capacity as an ITU. Thank you.
Thank you. Bikram, 1 minute.
I just want to highlight on 3 things: collaboration, cooperation, and coordination. So through this community network exchange, we have to collaborate on reach or on trap community, and then we have to be supported for the wherever the government or private sector or business people they don't reach. That's last mile we should be there. So I just say that coordination, collaboration, and cooperation. Thank you.
Dharmendra.
I think Sylvia raised a question and rather suggestion that nobody will help us if we don't help ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. Government is assigning funds and announcing it. But is that going to the places where probably Hasina thinks it should be going or people here think it should be going? So important is that identifying which are the areas where the connectivity is essential. And when I say it's needed, it means there's nothing else. If you already have 3G, 4G, probably that's not the area where we would like to spend the money today. Let's spend the money where there's nothing. And important, I'll say some of these organizations should work and create a POC and say, this is the model which works for northeastern states, and this is the technology. There can't be one single technology. There are areas where different technologies will address, right? Maybe multiple models, and take them to the government and get funding, not necessarily through big MNOs, not necessarily through us. Get the money there and let people like MNOs and us help them implement it there, because technology is there. Important, and government is saying, they came up, that like, can people show a workable model for rural most areas which can help connect these communities, and we will fund those. So I think idea is to create model, and maybe together, we are happy to contribute, work offline, that how we can help there. That's my view to it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And I think together with you, we are certainly going to create at least one POC, one demonstration in each state in Northeast, as we had a discussion. If you want to just highlight that part also, that is one of the examples that we can create in the next 1 year.
Sure. See, we are happy to contribute from our side, maybe 1 or 2 locations, if people can identify these are the most rural, almost not reachable locations. Let's create, we will fund, we will give the equipment upfront, and let the community and the local teams run it, right? And maybe create model, maybe pick up 2 sites in each states. We will provide the equipment, we will install the equipment, we will maybe give the bandwidth, FOC, till we push this agenda to the government, say this is the model which works. Can we replicate it? And purely for the areas where no other connectivity is available. So I'm happy to work if we have different people from the states, those who are trying to do that, or even if it is government officials here, happy to do that and take it forward.
Brilliant. So we will certainly do that demonstration together, and also the create. There are apparently 35 to 49,000 villages in India which has no connectivity. It's absolutely telecom dark. But the point is that those who are also connected, there are many one in dark. But yes, I agree with you is that we need to look at someone who is absolutely not connected, so that we have a very good example of how community can run a connectivity, if the equipments are provided. So we will work together on that one. You
Sure.
want to quickly say something? Yeah.
No, exactly. There's no point spending time and effort where something is already there just for the sake of putting a white paper or coming to media. Let's go where there's nothing.
Yeah. Hasina, your last 1 minute, and you can also identify a couple in Shillong, in
Northeast.
Meghalaya, by the way.
So I think going back to having a pilot, when we talk about pilot, it's so critical and very important that institution co-creates, because if we don't co-create, we always work in isolation. That has been my experiences. Rather than becoming support of tackling the connectivity, we become competitors. So I think it's so critical to look at that side when we come from different stakeholdership as we are sitting out here. The second part is, if we're looking at pilot, as we're just talking now, for me who work with migration across borders and who are looking at economic upliftment and agroforestry right now in multiple places, the issue of our borders, I work with 5 countries, I'm present in those 5 countries. The moment I get to a border point, my own internet, changes to an international roaming. So we need to also talk about that. Like for me who works in Bangladesh, immediately my connectivity turns into Grameen. The moment I get just to the border point, the moment I go to Indo-Myanmar, it crosses into a different. So that's also one critical issue about the Northeast, that we have to talk about it. We need to have solution about it, because when we talk about connectivity, it's just not about country specific. It's about cross borders. Connectivity is not about one country, it's across border. So if we're talking about a cross-border, I think we have to look at the Eastern Himalayan belt as, a collective response, so that while we are trying to solve problems of economic upliftment, of small businesses, of social issues and gender issues, we need to look at not just like India-centric, Nepal-centric, we have to look at a very collective-centric. So that's my take on it.
Thank you so much. Your quick last line.
What we normally discuss and the solutions we provide to the people, keeping in mind on the requirement of the humanity. And I think while we talk about connectivity and while we talk about the people, I think we should keep in mind at the age of AI and ChatGPT, whatever we are discussing today now in the technology, that how the human factors, that can be strengthened more. And while we talk about human factor today in the age of ChatGPT and AI, we always remember that the human emotions, the confidence, and the human willpower, perhaps today they had those characteristics of the human beings will make the difference and will be much more predominant. And while we compare the humanity with the technology, and it will be the leading the globe as the human being. And while we talk about connectivity to take the advantage of the globe, yes, I think that in the way the technology is growing in this country or in this world, and it is making the world much beautiful or much better for the people to live in, I think today's discussion will be contributing substantially the deliberations made by the people, that how the connectivity or the technology can make the lives better in the ground level.
Thank you. Can I go to Sylvia for her last word, and then Carlos?
Sure. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Sorry, with my big head on the screen.
Yes, got it. Yeah.
Well, I think that this conversation is as multifaceted as the people that have expressed the many points of view, and there are many of these issues that have been discussed, have been put on the table for a number of years. But it's always, it seems to me that we make some progress in one area and then 3 steps back, and I think that it's very important that we make a stronger effort on not only keep going, which is of course, what these organizations that are advocating and doing the work have been doing over the years, but more on sharing the story and documenting the processes and sharing how it was that they were able to unlock some of the challenges that they faced, because there are a number of organizations and communities around the region that are dealing with similar situations and need inspiration. I'm not going to say solutions, but need inspiration to come up with their own approaches to solve their problems. And I believe that there are events like this and opportunities to share knowledge and challenges and expertise are very valuable, and that we need to continue to facilitate these processes. They take a long time. And I also, being an organization that deals a lot with the technical community and private sector, that are providing some of the backhaul solutions, and looking at how submarine cables and satellite connectivity solutions are also evolving. I think it's very important that organizations that are working in remote communities and working with underserved and unserved populations work on developing skills to participate in the development of these business models and be able to articulate their submissions when there are policy recommendations that are open. If we don't make the effort to engage and support the change in the regulatory framework, it will not happen. If we just step back and say, oh, but it never can happen. Well, change comes, and sometimes it takes days, sometimes it takes decades, and we just need to keep at it. So I would like to close my remarks by encouraging people in the audience to participate in policy development process, get organized, and strengthen their links to with telecommunication operators and universal access funds. Make sure that they know who you are, where you are, and what you're doing, because you can't do this alone. And that's all from my end. I will pass the mic to you again, Osama, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, Sylvia. Carlos, just above you on the screen.
Nice to share the screen with Sylvia. No, I mean 100% with what Sylvia has said, with what Vikram has said as well around collaboration. And I'm glad to hear that there is some projects that may come as a result of this CNX in connecting those places where there is no connectivity. But as we really know as well from the data, as Katie was saying, is that there are many places who have connectivity, and that connectivity is not being used because it's too expensive, or it's not meaningful, or it doesn't have any meaning whatsoever to the communities where it is being deployed. Also because of the ARPUs and the business models that are behind those. So there is a need to work there as well. And from ABC, we are committed to collaborate. I think we've shown that over, since our inception, but even more so over the last few years, and even more so in the last couple of years here in the region. We are going to continue articulating and integrating initiatives and collaborations. And please, stay tuned. I believe there are going to be interesting elements coming up next year in relation to those collaborations and finding common agendas. And really, I think we need everyone, and we need everyone to take breaking the digital divide seriously to bridge it, right? Else, it's going to remain there forever, as it's remained there since the onset. It's rural development, and rural development has been a challenge forever, and if we don't solve it, it will continue that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. I will just close it in 2 minutes. There are 2, 3, 4 consolidating points that I would like to highlight. One is that ITU is now in India. That's a good news, and we can always find a place where we can go shout that why things are not happening as far as the international voice is concerned. So that's a good news. The second good news is that our private sector is ready to contribute through this platform to show a kind of place that if you are unconnected, there is still a possibility of having a technology and community can run it. The third is participation of such diverse, collaborative entities on one platform, right from community representing to country representing and so on and so forth. What I felt is that through this discussion is that 3 things is highlight, which I'll call C3, which connectivity, capacity, and community. The reason I said capacity is because these days when you need connectivity, you get connectivity, you do not want to have it insecure, not trustworthy, not safe, not things. This used to happen only 20 years before, not now, so you need that capacity. And also participation of community is very, very clear, like Dharmen said, is that if community doesn't demand, who will come to fill the demand? You have to make your voice heard, or participate, or say that we are ready to use it, or we want it and we can't live without it, and things like that, and even to maintain and manage it. And community is also important from the perspective of DPI, digital public infrastructure. When you say digital public infrastructure, the public is community, that, and it has to be in a community place, and it is owned and run by the community. So from all those perspectives, these C3 has to be taken into the consideration. And all of us, maybe after this CNX, we will come out with a piece of paper and all that, how we discussed and work together and take it forward. And we have certainly, like Hasina said, that we cannot look at this entire region only as a country. Of course, CNX is across Asia, and the Himalayan and mountain region is not just not northeast, but many more countries, and that's the beauty of it, that we want to include all of that. Connectivity is, of course, never local. Never local is a user. Connectivity is always across border, across your villages. With those notes, thank you very much for cooperating to be on time.